Hey y'all, welcome back to Healing Not Healed. And today's episode feels very personal. I say that every episode, but this is my healing journey that I'm taking you on, just in case y'all are in the same space. So I'm going to always say it's personal because it is personal to me. Because I think I've been living in this lesson for the past, I was going to say 2 years, but when I'm really thinking about how long I've been in this situation that I'm in now, it's been three. I've been on my own doing the parenting thing, the single parenting thing, and the mom thing by myself for 3 years now. And this episode is called Transitions, which, if I'm being honest, I don't think enough people talk about how uncomfortable transition seasons really are. It's always prosperity of, oh, well, you'll come out of this, you're at the end, and it's going to be 10 times better than what you expect, which I do love those. But let's be honest. Transition sounds exciting when people preach about it. New beginnings, elevation, growth, purpose. But nobody really talks about the in between, the space where your old life no longer fits, but your new life hasn't fully arrived yet. That place can feel lonely, confusing, stretching, and honestly, sometimes exhausting. So, before we go any further, I want to touch base on something I said in the last episode. And it wasn't until after I got done editing and listening to it that I realized it could have came off completely wrong. About two things, actually. So, in the previous episode, I did state that the basis of me getting closer to God and my relationship with God was so that I could have a husband, so I could become the woman He needs me to be, so I could have a husband. And I noticed I said that all wrong. The basis of my relationship with God, and I want this to be heard loud and clear. The basis of my relationship with God is solely to have a relationship with the Lord, to know the Lord through Jesus Christ. The woman I want to become is who He wants for me, who the Christina in the future is looking back at what I'm trying to become now. Now, when I did state that was the basis, that was a misspoke, and I have to clear it up because it bothered me so bad. Like, I don't want anybody going to the Lord thinking you're going to get anything out of it. I even saw Megan Ashley's In Totality podcast, which triggered that in my heart, was that if you're going to the Lord just because you think you're going to get rich, because you want a car, because you want a husband, because you want a wife, because you want to have this prosperous life, sorry, break it to you, open your Bible, that's just not it. You should only want a relationship with the Lord because that's the relationship with the Lord. That is your Father. That is the creator, the finisher, the producer of our lives. That is our very being of being. So I just really wanted to touch base on that because it bothered me until I'm able to record this episode. It truly bothered me that I said that was the basis of my relationship with God. Never was the basis of my relationship with the Lord. Ever. If He doesn't even bring me anybody, He's still a good God. He's still a faithful God. Even in my faithless days, He is still faithful. Okay? And the second thing I did state in the previous episode was that you need to become completely healed before God gives you someone or be your best self. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think that there are levels to healing to where you do have to heal on your own, but you don't know your other healing. Like I stated in Baggage 2 episodes ago, there are things that you have to heal after you are in a relationship that you don't know needs healing until that person brings it out of you. So no, I don't think you need to be your best self, but I also know that God will not present His child to another one of His children who is still out here doing any and everything but worshiping God. That's just where I'm at with that. And let's continue on to transitions. So I really get into the word, and this episode was being birthed in me, to be honest, because I only come up with these episodes while I'm in my word and in Bible study, not based on, oh, I want to talk about this, let me find it. No, this is every time I'm uploading an episode is because somehow that has happened to me. I told y'all this is my healing journey. Either way, the scripture God kept bringing me back to was the story of the children of Israel in the wilderness. And one verse specifically stood out to me. It takes 11 days, 1-1, to go from Horeb to Kadesh Barnea. And don't come for me on that name, because I looked it up, I studied it. That is exactly how you say it. And I'm not taking this out because I'm proud of myself for doing it. 11 days. But what should have been an 11-day journey turned into 40 years. And I'm going to pause right there just real quick, because a lot of people get in the Bible and read about the children of Israel. All they had to do was not complain. All they had to do was not complain. And they all would have made it. Moses would have made it. Just everything. We always say what we wouldn't do. Let's keep it a buck. We complain about God telling us to forgive somebody who never apologized. We complain about God telling us to pray for somebody we cannot stand. So miss me with the if it was me. And that's for me. Because I'm like, if it was me, child, no. That he would have left me in that wilderness, honey, because why are we here? Let's keep it honest. And I sat with that one for a while, because how do you turn an 11-day transition into 40 years? 11 days. 11 days to years. And the answer is the wilderness was never just about distance. It was about development. God wasn't only trying to get them to a new place physically. He was trying to transform them mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Because you can leave Egypt physically and still carry Egypt with you, within you. And honestly, that's where I feel like I've been since 2024. I've been by myself and doing this thing with my kids since 2023. But it was not until 2024, March 6, 2024, I fully surrendered and decided I wanted a relationship with the Lord. So I'm in transition, been in transition actively for 2 years. Not fully who I used to be, but not fully where I'm trying to go yet either. And if you listen to this podcast for a while, then you know there have been a lot of conversations about relationships, healing, disappointment, hope, discernment, and weighing. And looking back now, I realize a lot of those situations weren't random. They were revealing. Some people that came into my life, like, just to expose my insecurities, my attachment wounds, my fear of rejection, my desire to be chosen. If you haven't checked out the last episode, Chosen, check it out. Fire. My impatience, my lack of trust in God in certain areas. And every situation forced me to confront another version of myself. Not because God was punishing me, but because he was preparing me. Although it did not feel like that at the time. Still sometimes doesn't. And preparation seasons are hard because outwardly it can look like nothing is happening. Meanwhile, internally, God is rebuilding you completely. He's changing your standards, your discernment, your identity, your desires, your emotional maturity. And again, being emotionally aware and emotionally mature are two totally different things, but we'll tap on that in another episode. Stay tuned. And your dependence on him. And sometimes that process feels isolating because the old version of you can't survive where God is taking you. And there's another story in the Bible that really, really got me. And I did a little bit more digging because nobody talks about this person enough for me, especially from a mother's perspective, a wife's perspective. Another person I kept thinking about while preparing this episode was Job's wife. Because people talk about Job all the time, but rarely stop to consider what transition and suffering felt like for her. In the book of Job, chapter 1, verse 18 through 19, it talks about the loss of their children. Everything changed suddenly. Their life collapsed in a moment. And while Job's pain is centered in the story, she was grieving too. She lost too. She suffered too. And I think sometimes as women, especially women trying to stay strong spiritually, we overlook how painful transition can feel emotionally. It can really feel like a death. I'm gonna be honest, death to self, and it's daily. Sometimes it looks like grief, confusion, instability, exhaustion, questioning God quietly while still trying to remain faithful. And if I'm being candid with you, I've had moments in this transition season where I understood that kind of emotional exhaustion. Not because I lost everything Job lost, but because when life keeps shifting, relationships, identity, career, stability, direction, it can wear on you emotionally, especially as a woman trying to carry everything gracefully. trying to remain soft while life is stretching you, trying to trust God while simultaneously grieving what was. And no, I'm not saying Job's wife responded perfectly. She surely didn't. But my thing is, look at what she lost. We will cuss God for something so much small. That woman lost her children. She lost everything she ever had. We can lose a job and we ready to say, God, you hate me. You didn't do this. So again, miss me with the couldn't be me. And I think sometimes we judge people for how they respond in transition without considering the weight they're carrying. 2 months ago, I got laid off, and it forced me even deeper into this transition season. Because when something unexpected happens, especially financially, in this economy, it can make you question everything. Your stability, your direction, your confidence. And I'd be lying if I said I haven't had moments where I asked, God, what are you doing? Like the moment I got off the call from them telling me, we're removing your position from this company, you need to come turn in your electronics, I got off the phone and I went in my room, and all I could do was say, God, I trust you. I don't know, but you do. And that was it. And I was shocked I even said that, because I was numb. A company I'd been with for 7 years, just like, all right, we're getting rid of your position. You good? Here's your severance. Gone. Bring your stuff. And I literally got off, stood in my room, voice shaking and everything, and say, God, I don't know what you do. Because transition can feel like instability when you don't yet see the full picture. But something God has really been showing me is this. The wilderness was never evidence that he abandoned them. It was evidence that he was still leading them. There was still manna, still provision, still direction, still a cloud by day and fire by night. Even in uncertainty, God was present. And maybe that's the encouragement somebody listening needs today. Just because you're in transition doesn't mean God forgot you. I think one of the hardest parts about transition is grieving versions of yourself you've outgrown. The old mindset, the old relationships, the old coping mechanisms, even old dreams sometimes. Because growth requires release, and release is uncomfortable. But I've also realized something else. Everybody wants the promised land, but nobody wants the wilderness. Nobody wants the waiting. Nobody wants the stretching. Nobody wants the uncertainty. But the wilderness reveals what comfort concealed. So maybe ask yourself, what is God trying to teach me in this season? What mindsets is he trying to break? What parts of me still need healing before I arrive at where I've been praying to go? And this week, my prayer has been, okay, God, show me what obedience looks like in this season. What is obedience in my transition season? Because even delayed obedience is disobedience, and I don't want that. So what does obedience look like? Because delayed doesn't mean denied, and transition doesn't mean failure. I don't think I'm out of transition yet. I still feel God preparing me, still refining me, still teaching me patience, trust, obedience, and surrender. But I also know I'm not the same woman I was in 2024. And that means the world to me. So if you're in a wilderness season right now, do not rush it. Let God finish what he's doing in you. Because the version of you that enters the promised land cannot think like the version that survived Egypt. Some seasons feel like endings when they're really preparation. If this episode, and I'm going to call it an episode because we've reached past 10 minutes. If this episode blessed you, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to stay up to date on all new episodes and mini pods. And follow the podcast Instagram at Healing Not Healed Pod, all one word. And as always, stay healing.